Hello everyone. I have been working on a project researching why and how customers use bubble tea shop spaces. I will be presenting my research, my findings, and what design recommendations I have come up with based on the key findings of my research. The purpose of this research was to discover why and how bubble tea shop customers use the shop spaces in order to understand user motivations and user needs. The research questions that I wanted answers to include: what do people do during their stay in a bubble tea shop? Why do they stay? How do they use the spaces? And what do they value and how they want the spaces to be? The main goal of this research is to develop valuable and actionable design ideas and opportunities to improve our bubble tea shop spaces so that our customers can have a higher quality experience as they use our spaces. Understanding how our customers use the bubble tea shop spaces, what they use it for, and what their needs are, can lead to design decisions that can result in happier customers, which is ultimately beneficial to our business. To get a variety of data and results, I used 3 user research methods to find out why and how customers use bubble tea shop spaces. I first conducted a field study of a bubble tea shop, observing customers and how they use the spaces in context. I had 3 30-minute sessions, 1 session per day, observing customer behavior and interactions in Oasis. The field observation notes were analyzed by affinity diagramming. Then I conducted 3 participant interviews about their experiences, values, and opinions about Oasis. The interview transcripts were coded and thematically analyzed. Lastly, I created and sent out an online survey to gather a larger scale data that can validate the previous findings from the other research methods. The survey data were visually analyzed. The first 2 methods focused on a competitor, Oasis T-Zone, to serve as an example, while the survey was intended to be more general, so that I could gather data that isn't just on Oasis. Here is the framework analysis, a summary of my key findings for each research method. During my field study, I observed and counted many customers who were staying in the bubble tea shop who came with at least one other person as opposed to the number of people who I noticed were alone. In addition, when focusing on pairs or groups of customers, I observed the majority of them as facing each other and sitting on opposite sides as they talked to each other. In addition to that, I observed many customers talking to the others that they are with some groups playing games. From my interviews, the notion that customers mainly socialize during their stay in the spaces is supported by all of the participant responses. I also learned that limited seating, space, and a huge crowd can be a customer pain point. An unexpected finding that was discovering that unclean spaces can lead to a negative and unpleasant customer experience. The survey results reinforced the previous key findings that socialization is the main purpose and that a common customer group size is small. I learned that a typical customer stays briefly or up to about 30 minutes when they use the bubble tea shop spaces. Lastly, I found that customers value a clean environment in a bubble tea shop. My first key finding was the most salient theme that I discovered throughout all 3 of my research methods. First, in my field study, I saw and heard many customers talking to the others that they came with bodies leaning and facing each other and other body language that indicates that they are socializing. I also observed some groups of customers playing cards or Jenga and what could be assumed as hanging out. When interviewing participants, all 3 have discussed socialization as a purpose when staying in the bubble tea shop spaces. Participant 2 has explained how, and I quote, "Bubble tea is good for getting in touch with people, talking, getting to know them," end quote. The survey further supports this finding by many survey respondents answering that talking is part of what they do when they use the spaces. This tree map shows how talking is prevalent in what customers do during their stay. This finding is important because it gives insight to user motivations and purposes so that we can better design with those in mind. The idea that socialization is a main purpose then leads to the first design recommendation. This design idea is to help make socialization easier for customers. The circular shape of the table and the seating arrangement allows customers to position themselves to how they want in order to talk easily with one another. The lack of sharp sides and lack of corners doesn't restrict customer seating orientation, which in turn gives them easier time when socializing. The second key finding is that the typical size of groups of customers is small. From my field study, I observed many customers in pairs or with 2 to 4 other people. Although there were larger groups that I saw, they were not as common as well as customers who came in alone. In my interviews, all 3 participants have responded that they typically go with 1 to 3 other people when asked how many people they typically go with to bubble tea shops. Interestingly, from my survey data and analysis, it reinforces the notion that customers do tend to go in small groups more often. As you can see from the stacked bar graph, customers most often go with 1 to 3 people, and they tend to stay for brief or up to 30 minutes during their stay in the spaces. This finding is important to discuss because it gives insight on how to maximize the seating arrangement to make most use of the physical space of the shop and maximizing the accommodation to the typical number of customers. It's important to know how to seat the most people in the given amount of space. The second design recommendation is to design seating arrangement to mostly fit 2 to 4 customers per table, because that is the most common group size of customers according to the research. The layout design of the shop must be designed to make use of the space available to maximize the seating to best accommodate the maximum number of customers. The last key finding was that customers value cleanliness in spaces. 2 out of 3 participants have commented on the cleanliness about the particular bubble tea shop during their interviews, and they have explained how it degraded their experience and made the experience unpleasant. The survey also supports this finding, as I discovered that most customers value cleanliness of bubble tea shops and find it important. The graph on the right shows the sum of values that participants have rated the importance of cleanliness. Interestingly, the importance rating is higher with customers who have been to an unclean bubble tea shop space than customers who have not. Overall, the values are high for both types of customers. It's necessary to understand what customers value and how they want a space to be in order to have the best experience in the bubble tea shop. Knowing that cleanliness is important, we can design so that this does not become an issue in our bubble tea shop spaces. The last design recommendation is to design and put up visual aids around the space to encourage customers to clean up after themselves. This helps maintain the cleanliness of the space with the participation of customers to bust their own tables and leave the spaces as clean as they found them, so that other customers can have a pleasant experience as well. My research on bubble tea shop spaces started out broad and focused on a few themes after some research. However, I see opportunities for more research on discovering specific user needs and pain points about socializing in the spaces. It would be helpful to know more details to reinforce or create better designs to target the specific issue. This could be done with more participant interviews as well as surveys focusing on the socialization aspect of bubble tea shop spaces. It would be valuable to recruit both types of participants that either mainly use the spaces for socialization and participants that do not do it for socialization and why that is. Overall, this research project has given many opportunities for me to learn about customer behavior, interactions, experiences, and opinions about bubble tea shops. Being able to conduct 3 different kinds of user research methods was interesting, and all the methods have their respective strengths and weaknesses in gathering different types of data. To highlight, the interviews made for interesting conversations with individual participants and learning about their personal stories and experiences. Being able to see and understand the context behind the data was extremely insightful. It was also surprising to discover how I could get so immersed in the field observations when using the deep hanging out method. There were lots of opportunities to learn things about the environment and the context surrounding the research topic. This was a fun research project to conduct, and I hope the design recommendations can help bring success to our bubble tea shop business by accommodating our customers' needs. Thank you.